Hey guys, welcome back. I am Nat from Nat's Numbers, also known as the Numerology Chick over on Instagram. And here we are, the last number in this series. This is about the dark side of the number 33 in numerology. So if you have a 33 life path, expression number, heart's desire, or personality, stay tuned. I'm going to be going over the top 3 shadow aspects to watch out for if you have the 33 as a part of your spiritual DNA, and of course the remedies, so that you can use this incredible gift from your creator for good in your life and not for suffering. So if you're enjoying these Friday morning uploads and you want more of this content, please share the love, like, subscribe, and comment. It helps out so much. All right, so I want you guys to remember that every single number in numerology is a fundamental pattern in the universe. It is here to get a job done. It's here to produce some kind of result. The shadow aspects that show up are simply when we are not effectively producing the result of that number. So it's kind of like having a magic wand and not knowing how to use it or misfiring it. So if you have the 33 in your chart, it's very important to know the result that the 33 ultimately wants to produce is the result of grand healing. And as such, to create the restoration of family, community, and society into a state of harmony and wholeness. The way that the 33 does this, the way that this result emerges, is via something very unique: compassionate creativity. So if you have a 33 in your chart, you are a compassionate person. You have a big heart and you can sense the suffering of others and you want to alleviate that suffering, but you are called to alleviate that suffering via your joy, your optimism, and your creativity. Here's the problem. Having this kind of compassion can be really painful at first because it's hard enough to feel the emotions of other people, but it's even harder when you seem to attract, like moths to a flame, loads of people who need and want your help. So oftentimes 33s really feel overwhelmed and they either stuff down this incredible superpower altogether or they misuse it. And that's when we dip into the shadow aspects. So let's dive in. The first shadow aspect that typically shows up, and it's usually in this order, is where you become the overwhelmed empath. Okay, empath meaning that you experience the emotions of others and the suffering of others, but not of yourself. You get lost in the emotions of others and you no longer exist and feel what it feels like to be you. So in this stage, you are operating out of a care for others, a concern for others, a worry for others, and anxiety for others. But oftentimes you do not have that same sense of regard for yourself. And invariably you lose your joy, you lose your personal passions because you are so deeply invested in fixing, helping, and serving other people. You take on the role of the parent or the caregiver. You lose your childlike wonder and your sparkle, and you feel burdened. You feel overwhelmed. You operate from fear, and you feel that you have to hold everything together or else. So here's the news typically for 33s. Empathy alone does not produce the result of healing. I know it's a shock, but it doesn't. If you deny your own joy and your own creativity, or it gets hijacked by others, by other people that are wanting to use that for themselves, you're actually feeding into these unhealthy dynamics that you so desperately, intuitively want to fix. You're feeding into the toxicity, you're feeding into the suffering, you're feeding into the imbalance and lack of harmony. So empathy alone doesn't work. So if you're the burdened empath long enough, you're lost in the emotions of others and you don't even feel your own emotions, you will then dip into the controlling perfectionist. Here's the deal. Typically 33s, they've worked really hard on trying to care and love people enough that they will rise into being healthy and well. And when that doesn't work out, they typically think that there must be something wrong with them. So you internalize that and become a perfectionist, and you become controlling within. So you think to yourself that you must not be talented enough, not trying hard enough. There must be something wrong with you, because if you were doing it right, they would be better, or that thing would be fixed, right? And so in this phase of being the controlling perfectionist, you are highly critical of yourself. You are highly judgmental of yourself. You try harder. And also here, what can happen is that gets externalized. And so other people might experience you as being incredibly controlling and perfectionistic towards them. Other people might experience 33s in this phase as being judgy, judgmental, all in your attempt to desperately try harder, speak louder, problem solve more intensely to change people, fix people, improve other people's lives. Here's the deal. You can't produce healing. You can't produce grand healing by judging yourself or judging others. That's not what it's about. This 33 in your chart is telling us that grand healing happens via your powerful gift of creativity, joy, and self-expression, which we'll talk about in the remedies. Okay, so if you are the overwhelmed empath long enough, lost in the emotions of others, and then you become the controlling perfectionist long enough, you will dip into the deepest, darkest shadow aspect of the 33, which is becoming hyper emotional. Okay? Listen, you have a double dose of the 3, which is a double dose of genius level emotions, genius level emotional intelligence. And that emotion was seated there actually to catalyze you to self-express and to be creative, to uplift and inspire with taking what's inside of you and creating something joyous with it and sharing it with the world. If you've been engaging in these previous shadow aspects, you are in essence repressing that incredible emotion. You are stuffing it down, and this incredible genius will start to go off the rails. Okay? This emotion gets stagnant and dormant, and it turns into something different altogether when it doesn't have an outlet. So in this hyper emotional state, 33s rant and rave. Okay, have crying spells, experience these feelings of mania, like you feel possessed by your emotions. You can't regulate your emotions, things just come out. And other people experience 33s in this phase as being irresponsible, incredibly self-absorbed and selfish, but they're only in that state because they have gone so long being so depleted and so exhausted, basically living for other people. Okay, so being hyper emotional doesn't produce this result of grand healing. It doesn't produce the result of restoration of family, of taking care of others. A lot of 33s really believe that if they sacrifice themselves enough, that it finally will produce healing for the family, the community, the industry, the society, whatever it is, but it doesn't. Being hyper emotional actually showcases how destructive it is to abandon yourself, your joy, and your creative gifts. Okay? So, what do you do if you notice yourself dipping into any of these shadow aspects? What do you do if you notice that you are becoming so burdened by the emotions of others, becoming a controlling perfectionist towards yourself and those in your life? What do you do if you start to experience this hyper emotional state where your emotions feel like they are possessing you and you cannot think? Step number 1, tip number 1 is reconnect to your childlike joy and creativity. Listen, usually for 33s, this is something that you abandoned long ago. This is usually something that you can recall just barely in childhood or your teenage years. A hobby, an interest, something that made you feel so joyful, something that made you feel imaginative, something that brought a smile to your face. But you have to prioritize this creative hobby, this joy, like your life depends on it. It's so important. It's this double dose of the 3 of creativity and self-expression that produces the healing, that produces the impact, that produces that experience of uplifting those around you. So prioritize that joy. Make time for it. Okay? Simple, but not easy. But it's an absolute game changer. My second tip is more of a natural thing that happens, but I want to talk about it. Once you start to prioritize this joy, make sure that you're merging this joy with helping others, because at your core, you want to be of service. You want to make a difference in other people's lives. You have this incredible empathy. You don't want to just be selfishly, skipping through the meadow while people are suffering. You want to use this joy. You want to use this creative genius that you have to call people into your thriving garden, to call people into this beacon of light. Okay, and usually the way that you're going to help others is naturally shown to you. Just by investing in your joy, you start to get insight and guidance on how to do this. My last step, my last tip is to make sure that you are invited. Listen, you cannot help everybody. It is not your job to figure out who to help. It is not your job to poke and prod and meddle and control other people. Your job is to be the joyful you, and to invest in the creative passions and creative pursuits that are on your heart, and to allow the universe, that infinite intelligence, to bring the people to you that specifically want, need, and are receptive to your joyful gifts. You are not designed to help everybody, but there are people out there right now who are specifically designed to be helped by you. So, to all my 33s out there, we need you. We need your incredible, creative, artistic, joyful, optimistic gifts. So I want to hear from you what resonated in this video, and what are the things that you have found really work for you? What help you come out of those shadow aspects of being the burdened, overwhelmed empath, of being a perfectionist, of having this experience of crazy emotions? Comment below and let's brainstorm on some other remedies. I appreciate you guys so much, and stay tuned on my channel. I'm actually going to be taking a break. I've been publishing a video every Friday for about a year, and I'm going to be taking a break after this video for about 3 weeks. So make sure to hit that notification bell for being notified of my next video. I have a lot of juicy stuff in store really soon. Bye.